In the dark forests of Ivanovo, Russia, the year 1911 brought with it a bitter winter that seemed to consume everything in its path. Viktor, a local taxi driver, had just finished his last fare for the night when his telephone rang. The voice on the other end was a woman, her tone soft and filled with urgency. "Please come quickly, I need to leave my house immediately," she pleaded. Viktor, sensing her distress, agreed without hesitation. The address she provided led him to the outskirts of the city, deep into the forest where few dared to venture at night. The moonlight barely pierced through the thick canopy of trees, casting eerie shadows on the snow-covered ground. When Viktor arrived, the house stood solitary and ominous, its windows dark and unwelcoming. He honked his horn, and shortly after, the front door creaked open. A woman in a tattered, old-fashioned dress stepped out, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. "Thank you for coming," she whispered, as she climbed into the back seat. Her voice was trembling, and Viktor noticed her hands were ice cold. As he drove back toward the city, Viktor attempted small talk, but the woman remained silent, staring out the window as if expecting something dreadful to appear from the darkness. The air inside the taxi grew colder, and Viktor couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, the car's engine sputtered and died. They were miles from the nearest town, surrounded by nothing but the silent, oppressive forest. "I need to get out," the woman said abruptly, her voice now firm and resolute. She opened the door and stepped into the night, disappearing into the trees without another word. Viktor, bewildered and slightly unnerved, stepped out to check the engine. As he fiddled with the wires, he noticed movement from the corner of his eye. He turned, and there, standing at the edge of the tree line, was the woman, her face now twisted in an expression of sheer terror. Before Viktor could react, she screamed, a blood-curdling, agonizing sound that echoed through the forest. And then she vanished. Panic surged through Viktor as he tried to restart the car, but it was no use. He was stranded. Gathering his courage, he decided to follow the path the woman had taken, hoping to find help, or at least some answers. As he ventured deeper into the forest, he stumbled upon an old, decrepit cabin. The door was ajar, and an unearthly glow emanated from within. Viktor entered cautiously, his heart pounding. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of decay. On a table in the center of the room lay a collection of photographs, each one depicting the same woman with different men, all of whom looked like Viktor. His blood ran cold as he realized the woman had been using his services for years, each time luring a driver into the forest, never to return. A creaking sound drew his attention to the corner of the room where the woman stood, her face now a grotesque mask of rage and sorrow. "You shouldn't have come," she hissed. "None of you should have come." Before Viktor could react, the woman lunged at him, her hands icy and strong. He felt his life being drained away as her cold grip tightened around his throat. His vision blurred, and the last thing he saw was her face, inches from his, twisted into a hideous smile. Viktor's taxi was found abandoned weeks later, but he was never seen again. Locals whispered of a cursed forest, where the souls of those who ventured in were claimed by a vengeful spirit, forever trapped in a cycle of terror. And so the legend of Viktor, the taxi driver who answered a midnight call, became a chilling tale told to warn others of the dangers that lurked in the darkness of the Ivanovo forest.